Update. Would I be the a-hole if I told my late wife's family that she cheated on me? Original post. Anna, my late wife, died in a car accident. Person lost control of their car and ran her over, and she passed away immediately. We were both 26 at the time. It was 4 years ago, right before the pandemic. We were having a bad time as a couple. She was extremely jealous of me, but also very protective of her phone. Shortly after her death, I found out I had STD, and surprise, surprise, she was cheating on me. On the day she passed, a guy we went to college and was kind of friends with sent her messages, asking for pictures of their last encounter. And the way he talked, it seemed like it was recent, and it seemed that they talked often. I was able to get on her phone and laptop, as she didn't change her passwords because she would always ask to check my phone and I would ask for hers back. So I had a password. There wasn't much because she deleted everything or hid it very well, but the most recent messages, she obviously couldn't delete them. So everything that came after her death was still there. While looking for the pictures he asked for, I found pictures of her and him in a .rar deep in a random place at her work folders, at her laptop. In one of them, she had short hair, which she only had right after we got engaged. So she was with him for at least 3 years, out of our 6 years together. Also found pictures of 2 other guys, but I have no idea who they are. And there were no messages from either of them anywhere. I messaged a friend and told him that I knew, told him about the STD, and that I won't reveal it to anyone and want it to be kept as a secret forever. I asked him if anyone else knew, and he said that his ex knew but he would talk to her. I decided that for the sake of her parents and siblings, I would pretend she was a great person and let them have their beautiful memories with her. Anna's older brother Thomas, 34 male, is a good friend of mine to this day. I would even go as far to say we are best friends. After 2 years of my wife's passing, I was ready to date again. Thomas said that he knew the perfect girl for me, he just wanted me to be sure I was ready for something serious before introducing each other. It was his sister-in-law, Laura, 27 female. We knew each other only superficially but never really talked before our first date. I fell for her quick and hard. We started dating and about 3 months in, we were already telling each other I love yous, and I told her I was going to marry her. It has been a little less than 2 years. We are engaged and I have never been this happy. I told her all about my relationship with Anna. I still have the evidence of what she did, stored away in my computer just in case, and I showed it to Laura. She cried a little and comforted me, but I assured her I was fine and that I was over it. The problem comes with Anna's family, especially her mom and sister. Ever since Anna's passing, every time they talk about her, people want to hear me talk. They ask me about her, try to include me in conversations about her. Anna was such a good cook, right OP? I loved when she and OP would banter. You remember OP? Stuff like this. I was able to get by in the beginning by saying it was difficult for me to talk about her, that I was not ready. They let me be for a while, but ever since I started dating Laura, I couldn't use the "I'm not ready" excuse. Her friends, sister and mom get annoyed if I don't sound enthusiastic or depressed. Learn that it's easier to look depressed. Also, if I talk about Anna in any way that isn't portraying her as an angel that came down to earth to bless us with her presence, I get side-eyed. Thankfully, Thomas and her father are great guys and don't push me too hard on this. Her dad is always thankful that I attend their family gatherings, as we like to talk about our field of work. He always says he considers me a son. Her mom and sister, though, they get irritated if I try to dodge the topic of Anna. And his sister even said it out loud once that it's obvious that I didn't love Anna. She apologized after, but I mean, she isn't wrong. By the end, I didn't, and sure as heck don't now. Look, I'm over what happened. I don't feel hate for Anna anymore. I sometimes catch myself wishing she was alive, just so I didn't have to pretend anymore. But also because her death was a tragedy. A lot of people loved her. Her friends organized a reunion for her birthday, and those were incredibly hard. And even though I know her affair partner will be there, I go because I know how much she meant to those people. But this all started to get to me because it's affecting Laura. I can't say I love her in front of these people. I can't even hug her, and Anna's sister gets all moody. Her best friend stopped speaking to Laura. They were also friends. Anna's mom even came to us at Thomas' birthday party last week and asked us to stop dancing to respect her grief. She also contacted my mom and Laura's parents to say that she was incredibly disappointed that I proposed to Laura so soon, saying that we were moving too fast. It's been 4 years. Even if she wasn't a cheater, more than enough time has passed. I'm just over it, and I'm seriously considering telling all of them what happened, just to get the weight off my back. Would I be the a-hole if I did this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Looks like Anna's family is still trying to control your life, even from the grave. Maybe it's time to let go of their expectations and focus on your own happiness with Laura. You deserve it. If Thomas is a good friend and your families are intertwined, perhaps he is the one to talk with. Let him see the evidence and hear the story. I would honestly stop caring about what her mom and sister think. Maybe tell her brother just to explain why you would be distancing yourself, and that's it. Not the a-hole. I think the brother is the route to go. Show him the evidence and distance from the mom and sister. You want to reveal the truth to alleviate your own burden, but deep down, this isn't just about truth. It's about reclaiming your narrative and the control you lost when Anna cheated on you. Her family unknowingly forces you to uphold a lie that erases your pain, forcing you to live with unresolved resentment. Your silence has served their idealized memory, but it's eating away at your sense of integrity, and that suppression bleeds into your new life with Laura. What you fear most is not their judgment, it's the risk of tarnishing the only connection you have left to the person you once thought you loved. Yet that version of Anna died long before her accident, and you're still grappling with that realization. You're searching for permission to let go, but you don't need it. Exposing the truth might give you momentary relief, but it will permanently alter relationships with people you still care about, like Thomas. The question isn't whether you'd be an a-hole, it's whether you're ready for the fallout of destroying the illusion that sustains Anna's family, and if that weight is worth lifting off your shoulders. Deep down, you're unsure if exposing the truth will really free you, or if it's just another attempt to escape the pain you haven't fully processed. This is the best advice OP is ever going to get. Since you are in a way marrying back into the family, do you really want to blow everything up? I mean, they're going to blow up everything once he does marry her. They're making comments about him not loving Anna and moving on too quickly. Those comments will never stop. It will become his and Laura's kids should have been Anna's, and on and on. Someone, OP or Laura, is going to snap when they aren't all allowed to celebrate milestones because of grief over Anna. Now for the update 2 months later. Hello again. Sorry for not replying to most of you. There were too many comments and I wasn't able to respond to many. Thank you so much for caring though. I had used Reddit for advice on a work-related issue in the past and it was helpful. I feel like it came through again. Only updating because I received so many DMs asking for it. And I hate when I read something and has no solution. And as I think there's no harm in doing it, here I am. Something that I want to add because I didn't feel it was relevant before, but seeing so many people saying so many mean things about Anna made me feel like it's relevant, just for some people to understand how I feel about her. Maybe it isn't relevant, but I feel like saying it and putting out there. Anna loved me. She really did. She wasn't some monster that wanted me to be miserable and make me a fool. I saw the way she talked about me to other people. She loved me. She was worried I would divorce her and was talking to people about how to turn around our marriage, how to put it back on track. The issue was that she had a kink, and I absolutely had no desire to partake in it. I won't say what it was, but let's just say she did stuff to the guys, not the other way around. Honestly, the guys in the pictures looked pathetic, and if those were to leak, they would be the ones ridiculed, not me. The affair partner that I talked to was desperate when I told him I had pictures. That's also what made it 10 times easier for me to move on. I would say this was better than if she had a normal affair, at least for my mental health. Anyway, she asked a couple times, once early in the relationship and another time after we got married, and I refused unequivocally both times, and was particularly judgmental about it. All the pictures I found were of her in those kink scenarios. So yeah, she was actually frustrated and used those men to satisfy her kink. But she loved me. She was just very selfish, dumb, and reckless. I really believe this. And I say all of this because she was a really terrible wife. She cheated on me for years because of a freaking kink. But she was not a terrible person. She was only a terrible partner. There is a reason so many people loved her so much. I went with my gut feeling of talking to Thomas. Seems like a lot of people came to the same conclusion that this was the best way to deal with this. Me and Laura went to his house and we talked to him and his wife, Laura's sister. I told them that I was only bringing this up now because mine and Laura's lives are being affected by the way people perceive me as Anna's husband. People want me to be a memory of her life, when in reality, being reminded that I was married to her felt like a gut punch and I'm at my limit. But I kept on trying because I love her family, and I know how much she meant to many people. I told them that I did not love the person she became when she died, that we were probably headed for divorce soon, even without the things I learned. The only reason I didn't share it with anyone was because I didn't see a point to tarnish her memory and change people's perception of her when it wouldn't matter to anyone, and it would only bring pain for those that loved her. Now though, this decision is biting me in the butt because I also have to act like she was perfect. The reason I told them this way was so they could opt in to knowing more if they wanted. But if they would rather stay ignorant to the situation, they could. Thomas wanted to know everything, so I told him. He asked to see the proof, and I told him that the pictures were sexual and graphic. It was not a good idea for him to see it. He asked his wife to see them. I showed it to her and she confirmed to him that it was real, and they were really bad. She actually flinched looking at them. He asked if it was only one time, and I told him it was with 3 different guys, and one of them went on for at least 3 years that I knew of. He was mad, cussed a lot, not at me but at the situation. I started to regret everything at that point. He said, "Why is she so freaking stupid?" He called Anna stupid a bunch of times. He asked for some time to think stuff over and went out. I left Laura and her sister talking and also went on a drive. About an hour later, Thomas called me and asked me to come back to his house. He and Monica gave me a hug. She was crying a lot. He asked me what I wanted to do. I told him that all I wanted is to move on from this and be happy with Laura. He told me that he would handle his mom and sister, that I didn't need to worry about them anymore, but I should just distance myself from his family and Anna's friends for a while. He said I'm his brother and that will never change. We all hugged it out and that was it. My ex-sister-in-law has since reached out and told me that she knew Anna was cheating on me, but thought we were working through it. Anna told her about a year before she died and said that she would come clean and try to work on the marriage. Now Thomas told her what happened and she has apologized a lot. Said that she has been basically ignoring her flaws ever since she died, but it has turned unhealthy for both her and her mom. She said she will help me with anything I need regarding this topic. Ex-father-in-law and mother-in-law don't know anything and we will keep it that way. I will try to make time to hang out with my father-in-law from time to time, and considering him and my new father-in-law are good friends, me and Thomas have been talking about taking them fishing, golfing, maybe just going to a bar, stuff like that, at least once a month. And as for my ex-mother-in-law, I just keep my interactions to a minimum. So yeah, I think it worked out well. Another thing is that Laura wants to speed up our wedding planning, so hopefully we will get married in March or April. Before we were talking about having a long engagement, but there's no point in waiting. We both know what we want. And I'm happy. Very happy. Yeah, you did the right thing. Good update. On your ex-wife loving you, I believe you. She probably was a very mentally disturbed person, but bad people, narcissists, and mentally unwell people can love, and maybe she did. But if I were you, I wouldn't think about that too much. I don't really think about it. I read my first thread again before posting this update, and I guess I felt weird seeing so many people talking the way they did about Anna without knowing the context. And honestly, I don't think I hate her anymore, and understand she had an urge and needed to scratch it. It just so happens that the urge she had was something that was off limits to me, and she couldn't contain herself and was weak and selfish. I don't know why I feel like this. I guess the kink made it easier to rationalize in my head. Your ex-sister-in-law sounds like a piece of work. Best of luck forwards. Yeah, honestly, I don't buy much of what she said, but if she doesn't mess with my life, I will leave it be. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband there is no us anymore? 2 years ago, I, 37 female, was married to my ex-husband Jason for 5 years, together for 6. Our marriage had been pretty rocky and we fought frequently. Eventually, I guess it got to a point where he decided to cheat on me. I didn't even realize what was going on until I had come home one day to find her and him kissing in the kitchen. That's when he told me that he was seeing someone and that he was in love with her. I'll call the woman Emily for privacy. Emily didn't say anything. She just kissed him on the cheek again before going into the bedroom to help him pack his stuff up, while Jason began telling me about how it'd go through with a divorce. My heart was broken. And to think that just a few weeks prior, this was the man who was telling me future names for our kids. Fast forward 2 years later after that, I am currently engaged to a wonderful man. Recently, we have been planning our wedding as well as our honeymoon. We have also discussed the topic of children and agreed that none of us plan to have children in the near future. And I am so thankful that I didn't end up having any with my ex. This is not disrespecting people who do have kids. One night when I was watching Netflix on a couch, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole to see my ex standing there, crying and begging me to talk to him. I opened the door and asked what was wrong, because I wasn't sure if it was an emergency or not. He started by saying he was sorry, Emily was crazy, and that he wanted to come home to me and be the one sleeping with me at night instead of Emily. He went on a whole rant about how much he missed me and that he regrets ending things with me. Him and Emily have a child together, but he says he wishes I was the mother of his kids. Maybe that way he could see me and kiss me every day when he got home. He then asked me if we could rekindle our relationship, and I laughed in his face. I told him that maybe he could have just ended things on a good term instead of going behind my back and cheating on me. If he loved me so much, he wouldn't have slept with someone else. It's his loss. I've already moved on as well. So even if he didn't cheat, I still would have said no, and then told him to leave or I would contact the authorities. He tried to bargain with me before just straight up telling me that he would simply just leave. Anyway, I'm currently laying back down on my couch again while writing this. I'm just a bit worried if I'm actually the a-hole here. What? You mean you didn't put your life in pause and wait around for that prize specimen of a fool? Not a-hole. Continue being blissfully happy with your new partner and let the ex deal with the consequences of his stupidity. Not a-hole. He made a choice to cheat on you with Emily and he likely cheated on her with someone else. The us you had is long gone. Good on you for standing your ground, but also asking if there was an emergency. I completely agree. He made his choice when he cheated, and now he can't just walk back into your life expecting everything to be the same. You did the right thing by standing firm and also showing concern for his well-being, OP. Not a-hole. Personally, I'd message his lovely wife. Hey, just a little advice. Keep your crybaby husband on a tighter leash. I don't need him showing up at my door, crying and begging me back. I do not want to get police involved, but I will if you don't keep the man you desperately wanted in check. Thanks, and I appreciate it. But I'm petty and I'd like to cause drama for them both and let her know she won what she created. A cheat. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my college fund with my dad's affair child? Plus update. Original post. My father dropped a bombshell in our family last year when he revealed that he had a secret son from an affair years ago. After my mom found out about the affair at a time and gave him an ultimatum, he cut things off with the mistress and she moved away. Until last year when she introduced him to their son, Hank, 14 male. I don't really care about his sudden desire to be a father, considering he didn't show any regard for the rest of his family when he broke the news. Thank God my mom divorced him. And now neither my brother Connor, 18 male, my sister Sophia, 15 female, nor I, 23 male, want anything to do with him. Here's the thing. We have a shared college fund that my mom's parents set up for us when we were little. My parents contributed almost half of the money, and my maternal grandparents contributed the other half. The account remains under my mom's control after the divorce. As far as I know, my father stopped contributing to the fund after they split. Last month, I found out that my dad has been harassing my mom because he wanted to add Hank as a beneficiary to the college fund for me and my siblings. He claims that since Hank is his son, he is entitled to the fund that was set up for Connor, Sophia, and me. My mom told him off, but now he's been going around bad-mouthing her online and to their mutual friends, saying that she is heartless and cruel for taking her anger out on an innocent child. He also had the nerve to reach out to me, trying to pressure my mom through me. He said I should consider opening my heart to Hank, who grew up without a father and wasn't given the same opportunities as my siblings and me. I left him on red because, honestly, the things I wanted to say to the callous man would not have been pleasant. Yesterday, he changed tactics and said he wanted to withdraw all of his contributions from the account, divide them so that Hank get a share, and then deposit the remaining money back. He added a caveat that, since Connor and I didn't need a college fund for tuition due to our full-ride scholarships, the money should be divided into 2 parts, for Hank and Sophia, instead of being split 4 ways among his 4 children. Now my dad, some of his side of the family, and even the mistress, are pressuring my mom to agree to this. I'm praying that she won't give in. It makes me furious that we're being asked to split our college fund with my dad's affair child. Even if I don't need the money for school, I will need it in the future, and so will Connor. I know for a fact that my dad wouldn't use the same reasoning to exclude Connor and me from the fund if it meant leaving the money solely for Sophia. It's all about Hank. I understand that Hank is innocent and not responsible for his parents' actions, but I don't see him as my brother. To be honest, I don't even see my father as a father anymore. As far as I'm concerned, my family consists of me, my siblings, and my mom. That's it. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Info: we have a shared college fund. What legal type of fund? Even if yes, I don't need to use the money to pay for school, I will need it in the future. Are you sure that's even an option? Where I live, if the funds are unused due to scholarship, we can withdraw it and won't be penalized. And I am considering getting a master's, so even if I didn't have to pay for undergraduate, I probably will need it for grad school. The fund is a state-sponsored savings plan. Sorry I can't give the actual name since it's very specific to where we live. Not a-hole at all. Where does your father get the idea that he set up this fund when it was your grandparents on your mom's side? Do his family members know the whole story? Yeah, that man's delusion is out of this world. His audacity is truly unmatched. My paternal grandparents know and support us. I know my grandma has been trying to get him to back off, but he unfortunately doesn't listen to her. It's mainly my dad's brothers who are joining him to harass my mom. I don't know if they know the full story or not. Since grandma and grandpa know, I feel like they do too. Not the a-hole. He can deal with his crappy decisions. The divorce is finalized. He can't go back and change the terms now. Additionally, it sounds like he didn't put in most of the money. It sounds like at most he put in 25%. Either way, he no longer has any claim to it. He can take out loans for Hank. I guarantee that Hank will not see a penny of that money if your dad gets a hold of it. And Sophia definitely will not see her half if it happens. Now for the update. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support and advice. I really appreciate it. I talked to my mom this morning about getting a lawyer involved and possibly a restraining order. She has been in contact with a lawyer regarding my dad's demands, and it seems he really doesn't have any legal rights to the college fund. I think some of you are correct in saying that he's doing all this because he knows he wouldn't win in court. As for the restraining order, my mom is hesitant to pursue one right now since my dad has visitation rights with Sophia, and she doesn't want to complicate things for my sister. However, she promised that if the situation gets worse, she will consider it. My brother Connor and I have also decided to take turns coming home on the weekends so that our mom and Sophia aren't alone, just in case anything happens. To clarify a few things, we haven't involved my mom's parents in this because their health isn't the best right now. When my grandfather first heard about the cheating and the secret son, he was so shocked that he had a heart attack. Thankfully, he has mostly recovered, but none of us want to put any additional stress on him. According to my dad, he didn't know about Hank's existence until last year when his mistress came back into the picture. No one in our family was aware of Hank until my dad brought him to a family event and broke the news to everyone. He blindsided and humiliated my mom, and that was the final straw for her, leading to the divorce. I honestly don't have anything against Hank. It's just that right now, I can't imagine spending time with him. He's still a minor, so any interaction would have to involve either our father or his mother. And that's a situation I'm not willing to put myself in at the moment. Maybe things will change in the future. Who knows? Hopefully this situation gets resolved soon. Thank you again, everyone, for the amazing advice and words of support. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wasting everyone's time in therapy because I was accused of lying? My mom, her husband, and I, 16 female, have been in group therapy together. We started therapy a few weeks after Father's Day because that was the final straw for them. They insisted we needed therapy to work on why I won't let us be the family they want. We began at the end of July, and by the end of August, my mom accused me of lying, called me a liar, and laid out this big sob story about how much it hurt her to have me lie to her and do everything I could to destroy her marriage. It ticked me off so much. I never lied at any point. I said as much in the follow-up session, and the therapist asked me to explain my side and how I felt about my mom calling me a liar. My mom kept trying to interrupt me, told the therapist to shut up, and then accused me of being a vicious liar. To give some background, my mom and her husband got married 3 years ago, moving in together 2 months before the wedding. Before they moved in, they sat me down and asked if I was okay with us all living together and becoming a family of 3 again. My mom brought up how we'd have a man around the house again. My dad died, and she said it would be good for her to have a husband, and for me to have a dad. Her husband said he couldn't wait to be my dad, and that he had always wanted to be a father. He even mentioned that he already had plans for us for Father's Day. This was back in February, 3 years ago. I told them I wasn't okay with that. I don't want another dad, wouldn't let him be my dad, and was not going to spend Father's Day celebrating someone who isn't my dad. They just laughed it off and proceeded as if everything was fine. But every year since then, Father's Day has been a struggle because I refuse to spend a day with him, and both he and my mom have tried to make it happen. I meant what I said. I've never called him dad or let him fill that role in my life. This year, he snapped. He had a temper tantrum and said I was supposed to be with him on Father's Day, not spending the day alone, and that he didn't sign up to be nothing to me. My mom called me a liar because she claims I promised to develop a close relationship with her husband and agreed to what they asked. She said I told them I would give him Father's Day, but I lied and didn't follow through on any of it. I made them believe I was a willing participant and that I wanted us to be a family. It ticks me off because I never said what she claims. I even repeated exactly what I said back then. The therapist couldn't get my mom to apologize, and she has no control over the sessions, where my mom and her husband dominate the conversation. So I just stopped talking and would zone out during the sessions. They only noticed this 2 weeks ago. When they confronted me, I spoke up again after more than a month of staying silent in therapy, confirming that I wasn't listening. Last week, I told them I was done engaging because I was owed an apology for being called a liar. Now my mom and her husband are angry, saying I'm wasting everyone's time by not participating. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm surprised the therapist is still taking the sessions. They must need the money pretty badly. Your parents, like so many before them, aren't after therapy, where you have to work on your own issues. They want a wizard who can change reality for them, and maybe change you for someone who wants to call your mom's husband dad. Good luck with it all. The therapist is pretty young, so maybe she's new and doesn't want to fail at one of her first set of clients. Otherwise, I don't get why she'd keep us either, when she was literally told to shut up. And not in a nice, I got this way, but like legit shut up, we're talking kind of way. She seems really sweet. I think she's probably a good therapist, but maybe she lacks the confidence and experience to really tell them to shut up or to fire us. She does try, but my mom knows how to be loud and talk over people. The therapist being so young and new might be why she was chosen. I didn't think of that, but it does make sense with everything. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my grandparents to include other kids in my house when we visit the water park? I, 16 male, live in a pretty chaotic household. After my dad passed away, my mom remarried. Her husband already had 2 kids from a previous relationship who are now 12 and 11. About 18 months after my mom and stepdad got married, my stepdad's best friend went to jail, and they took in his 2 kids who are now 8 and 6. Then my stepdad's sister passed away, and her child who is 5 also came to live with us. So in total, there are 6 kids including me, living in the house with my mom and stepdad. My dad's parents visit me a few times a year. My mom doesn't let me see them too often because she's worried that the other kids will feel left out. especially since my grandparents don't automatically include them or send them gifts. About a week ago, my grandparents told me they were planning to take me to a water park that had recently been renovated about 2 hours away. They said we could make a day of it, and my mom had already given them permission to take me for the whole day. After my call with them ended, my mom, who had been listening in, asked if that was the water park the other kids had been talking about. I told her I wasn't sure, but probably since everyone at the school had been mentioning it. A few hours later, my mom told me that she had talked to my stepdad and they wanted me to ask my grandparents to include the other kids in the trip. She said they could never afford something like that on their own, but since my grandparents could, she thought they should be willing to include all the kids just as once, because it's such a popular and exciting place. She even offered to come along and help supervise. I told my mom that I didn't want the other kids to come because I wanted to spend time with my grandparents alone. She insisted that I needed to ask my grandparents, saying they would never agree if she asked, but might say yes if they thought I wanted everyone to come. She gave me a few days to ask, but I didn't. Then my stepdad joined a conversation, and both he and my mom reprimanded me for being selfish and greedy. They said I had a chance to do something kind and wonderful for my siblings, and that it wasn't like my mom wasn't willing to help out. They reminded me that I'm the only one in the family with grandparents, so I should be encouraging a more inclusive dynamic. My mom even said that while she might not be able to force the issue, she could remind me that I'm not being the best older brother and that one day I might actually consider them my siblings and regret not trying to make them happier. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and please let your grandparents know you're being coerced. Maybe you can go live with them? I told them what was going on, but living with them isn't an option yet. We looked into it before, but legally I don't get to influence the decision like some states allow. If your mother wants to ask your grandparents to include others, she should do the asking, not you. She wants you to ask, so it will seem like your idea, not the a-hole. Yeah, or so she can get the answer she wants to hear. She doesn't really care about whether they'd be wanted or not while there, which is kinda awful to do to them too. It isn't fair that she keeps you from your family. Is she expecting your grandparents to pay for all of the other children too? Because that's a very expensive day. I feel for you and your grandparents. I also feel for the other kids. I mean, it would be nice for them to have grandparents as well, but your mom definitely can't force other people to step up as grandparents for kids they have no ties to. Yes, they're supposed to pay for them, and my mom said she'd pay for her own ticket only. Yeah, that is not okay. And you know what's crazy? Your stepfather didn't offer any physical or financial help, and they are all his kids/friends' kids. He sounds like a mooch. Last story. Am I the a-hole for sending my son to rehab against my ex's wishes, even though I have sole custody? Okay, so I, 34 female, have sole custody of my 14-year-old son, Liam. Lately, things have been really hard. He's been acting out a lot, skipping school, shutting down emotionally, and I recently found out he's been drinking and experimenting with pills. When I discovered that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, been sober for 4 years now, so this news sent me into panic mode. I did what I thought any parent would do. I started looking for help. I talked to a few counselors and eventually found a rehab program that also addresses mental health issues for teens. I thought this could really help Liam before things get worse. The problem is, when I told my ex, 38 male, he completely lost it. We don't exactly get along, one of the reasons I have sole custody, but we do share visitation. When I told him about Liam and a rehab, he said I was blowing things out of proportion. He basically thinks Liam is just experimenting, and that is normal teenage behavior. He told me rehab would traumatize him, that it's too harsh, and accused me of projecting my own issues onto our son. I sort of understand where he's coming from. I know he doesn't want to see Liam go through something difficult, but at the same time, I can't just sit by and watch things get worse without doing something. I've been there. I know how addiction starts. My gut tells me I'm doing the right thing by getting him help now, before it's too late. Anyway, I went ahead and enrolled Liam in a program last week. My ex is furious. He's been calling and texting constantly, telling me I'm making a huge mistake, and that Liam will end up hating me for it. He's even threatening to take me to court to fight for custody. Honestly, I'm a wreck. Part of me feels like I might be overreacting. Like maybe I should have tried other approaches first, or at least involved his dad more in the decision. But I'm just scared, you know? Scared for Liam, scared of what could happen if I do nothing. I just don't know anymore. So am I the a-hole for sending my son to rehab without my ex's approval, even though I have full custody? Should I have listened to him more? Not the a-hole. You need to do what you think is best for your son. It may be hard for him and for you now, but for sure it will get better in the future. Good luck to you and your son. Thank you so much. I only want the best for him. He is my world. You definitely are doing the right thing. Your ex threatening to go for full custody is going to look bad for him. The court will be like, you want full custody of your child because he's getting the help he needs? If you are concerned, just keep a timeline with how the issues escalated and your communication with your ex about the situation.
In the heat of an argument, my brother-in-law revealed my husband's infidelity. He sent me screenshots of their conversations as proof, but my husband claims they're faked. Plus update. Original post. We had a party last night, and my brother-in-law Chris attended. He's 10 years younger than my husband. Near the end of the party, about 2 a.m., I was in the kitchen cleaning up. He was out on the deck talking to Jennifer, a woman Chris graduated with, who lives nearby, and they had both been drinking. The porch door was open, so even though I wasn't eavesdropping, it was impossible not to hear what they were saying. Chris was flirting with her. He kept complimenting her, saying how beautiful and pretty she was, etc. I guess at one point she pulled up his Facebook and saw that he has a girlfriend. He said Jennifer was lovely, and Jennifer said, "Thank you, and it looks like your girlfriend is lovely as well." Chris started saying how they were going through something right now. They weren't technically together, it was an open relationship. Everything he could think of. Jennifer was being really cool about it. She kept saying thank you and how she appreciated his compliments, but she wasn't interested. He was getting kind of annoyed, and at one point he said, "I bet if I was my brother, you'd have no issues with this." Jennifer said, "Your brother is actually loyal. He wouldn't cheat on his wife." To which Chris replied, "My brother cheats on his wife all the time." Jennifer replied she doubted that was true, and Chris said my husband slept with someone he worked with, and that he was planning to sleep with Jennifer as well, and that clearly his plan was working since Jennifer idolizes my husband. At this point, Jennifer told him he was acting out of line and needed to go sober up, and walked away. Chris came storming into the kitchen and saw I was there, and told me something along the lines of how all of that stuff he said was true, and how my husband never gets held accountable. He then proceeded to go into the garage and have a huge screaming fight with my husband. In the fight, Chris said that he didn't deserve anything he had, and my husband had forced Chris to keep his secrets. My husband said that Chris was a liar who wanted to ruin my husband's life, since he was jealous that he's better off in life than Chris is. For relevant context here, Chris was struggling a lot a few years ago, while my husband and I were buying a house, having our first child, etc., and I know he harbors some resentment from that time. The argument ended with my husband kicking Chris out. He immediately told me everything Chris said was a lie, that he was just trying to cause chaos. But when I woke up this morning, Chris had texted me about 20 pictures and videos that were screenshots and screen recordings of conversations between my husband and Chris, talking about how he had gotten drunk and slept with a coworker years ago. Conversations between the two of them about Jennifer that were overtly sexual and showed that he was clearly planning to at least try to hook up with her. There are photos included in these messages. My husband said they were all faked, and he said my brother-in-law has been planning this for a while. I know it's easy to fake a screenshot of a conversation, but there are screen recordings too, as in, I could see the Messenger app being opened and him clicking on the conversation, and everything. The recent conversations match the recent conversations in my husband's phone, but my husband doesn't have any of the incriminating messages my brother-in-law does. Are screen recordings something you can fake? And any other advice on what I should do here is really appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I understand why you are unsure, because a lot of this stuff can be faked now, and this is your marriage, so you want to be careful. The best thing to do is to go directly to brother-in-law and ask him for his phone. See the text messages for yourself, call the number they are attached to, or look at it, and you will be able to see if they are real or fake. You can't fake text messages connected to a phone number, so that should be all you need to do, and I imagine brother-in-law would be happy to confirm. And if he won't, well, that's a point against him. Your brother-in-law was so angry, it wouldn't surprise me he faked them. But he was also clearly frustrated, and if people think your husband is the golden child, or if he feels that way, he could have finally snapped and really be telling the truth. It is very hard, within 24 hours, to fake not just text messages, but text messages dated a year ago, and to do a video recording. But I'm no tech expert, so who knows? It is worth talking to brother-in-law and getting his phone in your hands to confirm. For what it's worth, a few decades as a software engineer. Yes, all this can be faked. If I can make Putin do the chicken dance, then all of this can be falsified. Note the number, note the timestamps of the messages, cross-reference the timestamps with your mobile phone bill. It would be very hard to fake all that and keep it synchronized. The only way I can think how to fake a screen recording is if he was sending those messages to someone else and changed the name in his phone to your husband's to make it look like he said them. But you then say that the previous messages match up to the ones your husband did send. I think brother-in-law is telling the truth. If the brother-in-law is really committed, then he could copy over the other messages and continue the flow of convo. I mean, there's two sets of the convo after all. It wouldn't be that hard if he's already faking the dirty stuff. Tell me what sounds more plausible. 1. That your husband is cheating, and in a moment of frustration, his brother told his secrets. 2. In a Count of Monte Cristo-style twist, your brother-in-law has faked establishing a closer relationship with his brother for the past 5 years, has engaged in creating fake texts and screen recordings to incriminate your husband, and then staged an argument with a woman he was trying to hook up with, all in an effort to ruin your relationship because he was resentful that you guys were in a better place than he was years ago. Apply Occam's razor, and I think you have your answer. Occam's razor here means the end of a marriage, so you have to be absolutely sure. I know people who have been so resentful of someone else that they would make up lies about people all the time. I've seen it firsthand. There are apps that will incorporate current texts, and you can fake anything. It's so easy to do now that you can't rule that out, especially when the end result is divorce. Edit. Please stop saying I am in denial, that I'm blindly believing my husband, etc. I am posting on here looking for more information so I can make an informed decision, and not make a rash one. I have not stated either way who I do or do not believe. For clarification, my husband is not claiming that my brother-in-law faked all of these screenshots last night. He's saying this is something my brother-in-law has been planning to do for a while. He said he's always harbored resentment for him, which is true. Chris is very resentful of my husband. So he says Chris could have done this at any time and just had them ready. Update. I am meeting up with my brother-in-law to see his phone in person to see the messages and verify if they're real or not. Now for the full update. My husband and I both went over my brother-in-law's. My husband was remaining adamant that he'd never sent those messages or cheated on me. When we got to Chris's house, he was able to provide the screenshots and screen grabs, but not the actual messages. He claimed he deleted the messages after he got the screenshots for storage reasons on his phone. Even so, my brother-in-law insisted the screenshots were real, and that my husband just deleted the messages off his phone. My husband and I went as far as to go online and check our itemized bill. There are days where my brother-in-law has screenshots, where according to our phone bill, my husband never texted him that day, or even the days before or days following for that matter. I don't know why my brother-in-law had these fabricated conversations, nor when he was planning to reveal them, or if he just made them to have just in case to use as blackmail, or to threaten him. But he used an app to create them. We didn't get much out of him as far as reasoning. We're going to go very low contact with my brother-in-law for the time being. I thought as in my husband's relationship was getting better, but it clearly isn't. For what it's worth, the coworker that my husband apparently slept with was 3 days postpartum with her and her husband's third child when my brother-in-law claims the affair happened. Additional info. He's been wanting to hook up with Jennifer, and she has absolutely no interest in him. But he overheard Jennifer talking about what an amazing husband and father my husband is. So, after she rejected him again, that set him off. Why is my brother-in-law resentful of my husband? He resents my husband because of the way their parents treated them. My husband never got into any trouble, so his parents treated him well. When we got married, they gave us the down payment for our house. They paid off both of our college debts, so we could have a clean start. My brother-in-law was more rambunctious as a child, so he was always treated like a criminal, and eventually began behaving the part. My in-laws never helped him financially when he needed it. My father-in-law is very tough on him. Sorry, your brother-in-law is a psycho in my eyes. He needs help. Yeah, I didn't realize how far he was willing to go to get back at my husband. I would even get a restraining order. He tried to ruin both your lives over his ego. You were very smart about how you handled all of this. Some people just have a different operating system than most of us, and will therefore do things way beyond what we can understand. It's good that you first assumed the more rational, likely solution. then were willing to accept the more out there conclusion when facts were presented. This man has likely not shown the full extent of what he's capable of. Be very cautious. This is exactly why you were looking for actual advice and not just believing your brother-in-law or hubby. Glad you have sorted it out. Oh, and brother-in-law is a twat. Thank you very much. And yes, he is. I don't know if you learned any from this experience of sharing and looking for ideas on here, but so many people saying your husband cheated and asking you to quit the marriage says a lot about Reddit and its users, and how just because some things sounds reasonable doesn't mean they are staying facts. It's important to get as much info as possible before we come to any conclusion, no matter how things look initially. I'm glad you got things cleared. And be safe, because your brother-in-law sounds erratic and the kind of guy who enjoys revenge and getting back at people. 3 days postpartum. I'm screaming. Your brother-in-law is a great moron. I can't believe he tried to ruin your lives. I know, I'm pretty shocked. If I had believed this, I would have left my husband, and the people who would suffer the most would be the kids. He's their uncle. I'm still in disbelief this happened. I would really consider actual no contact and security for your home. That level of jealousy is nothing to be ignored. He sounds unhinged and dangerous. Now for the last story. I am going to divorce my husband of 10 years. Plus update. Original post. My husband and I met when I was 18. It had always been just me and my best friend, but when my husband came along, we became an inseparable trio. For me, it was love at first sight. I had the biggest crush on him, but didn't want to ruin the friendship thing we had, so I kept it to myself. Until he confessed to me when we were 20. Things went fast and we got married when we were 22. My best friend got married too, and we have all remained close. We had invited my best friend and her husband around for dinner, and we were joking about the things we got up to, and my husband brought up how he had always had a crush on my best friend, but then she got a boyfriend, so he settled for me instead. I tell you, my whole world just came crashing down. I realized my marriage of 10 years was him settling for second best, that I was never his first option. After that, everything he did just started to annoy me, and he just stopped being attractive to me anymore. We haven't slept together in 6 months because I feel so disgusted. I just want out. I feel like I've wasted my life. I'm disappointed in him and myself for believing I was the one he liked. Edit. Okay, I'll just answer the main questions here because I don't want to keep answering them. No, yes, I don't care, I don't know. I tried to talk it out for 6 months. Edit. Husband knows about the divorce. I told my best friend and she told my husband. So I come home to a don't leave him intervention where they all wanted to work it out. I have never been so confused because for the past 6 months, I've been trying to ask him what he feels and what he meant by his comment, and to answer my questions, like literally to the point I have screamed it in his face to just tell me. And he's been saying nothing, and she has been encouraging me to talk to him but keeping her distance. I thought it was because she didn't like him. Apparently, she just thinks we are perfect together, and he doesn't want to lose what we have. What do we have? We are basically roommates who are intimate at this point. I think I won't update this because I'm a bit miffed and angry. I am going to go stay at my mom's or something. Now for the top comments before reading the update. There was a similar story on Reddit a few weeks back about a husband who announced to his entire family that he settled for his wife and initially found her repulsive before falling in love with her. And surprise, it made the wife fall out of love with him. Why do people think it's a cute joke to be like, at first I thought I could do way better than you, but eventually I was like, hey, maybe I can't. Dumb as hell. I remember that story. Repulsive. What a word to just throw around. The only way, at first I found my wife repulsive, would make sense as a joke, is if you had met her initially after she had just had a Back to the Future Biff-style manure accident, or something similar. He just announced this in middle of a dinner casually, like it was a funny story. In 6 months, he hasn't noticed you're upset. He hasn't questioned what the issue is. I think your marriage has been over and you haven't realized it yet. Yeah, he announced it like a funny story. And he has noticed I'm upset. I am not quiet. I've told him why I'm upset, but he just can't understand because he chose me. He can't understand because he sees himself as the prize. You have nothing to be upset about. You want him. Exactly. But he isn't a prize. He's a person with flaws like the rest of us. And if he sees himself as that valuable that I should just be happy that he settled for me, then how does he see me? Bro, that would be awkward as heck. If I was the best friend's husband, I'd have to talk to him in private, because have you been waiting on my girl this whole time? He was very angry, but he was very polite about it. I don't even know what I would have done if I was in his shoes. Honestly though, because I feel like someone would only say that to plant a seed and get the other person thinking. Sorry that happened to you, but good for you for not sticking around. And now for the update. Okay, so pretty major update that I said I wouldn't do, but I am not a man of my word and never said I was. Today I got a message from best friend's husband asking where she was, and I had no idea because I am at my mother's house. Can we guess where she is? She is at my freaking house with my freaking husband. What weird freaking universe am I living in? Anyway, yeah, so I'm leaving and taking all my stuff with me. My mom will have to put up with me for a while. Divorce is definitely happening. I'm going to get therapy. Update, my boss demanded that I replace all my pants, and then told me she needed to supervise me while I got the replacements. Original post, I wear normal pants to work. Our dress code is business casual, and I have gotten myself sized by a reputable tailor. All my slacks and chinos are from normal brands you'd find at Macy's and are normal, relaxed fit. However, yesterday my boss called me into her office and told me I would no longer be allowed to wear the pants I normally wear to the office and would have to wear something less revealing. Apparently, my bulge is inappropriate for the workplace. I have a normally sized junk. I actually freaking measured it to make sure I wasn't crazy, and I'm pretty close to the US average. Would a woman with large breasts be told she can't wear anything but baggy clothes? Would she be told by her boss that she must wear nothing but restrictive sports bras to work? I doubt it, especially in my workplace where women 2 seats down from me wear far more provocative clothing than my damn slacks. I asked her what should I wear instead. These are my size, and she said just go buy something looser or get a bigger size. I'm not rebuying my entire collection of work pants. Go ahead and report me to HR. Let's see them try and fire me for having too much junk. Edit, to clarify, I'm aware that women have been told to cover up quite a bit in the workplace. I'm not dismissing that, just highlighting the very visible double standard of bodily expression in my own workplace. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I would be concerned that someone stared at my lower part enough to notice that. I am in a long-term relationship and planning to propose early next year, so I can't afford financial or emotional turbulence right now. She didn't say who exactly brought this concern to her, so as far as I know, it could have been anyone in the office. Send an email to HR and your boss and her boss and ask for a mediator for your continued discussion between your boss and you about the size of your bulge in your work pants, as you don't feel comfortable discussing it privately with her. Edit, as others have pointed out, it would be best to get documentation of the event in some way prior to doing this. This is the correct way to escalate the issue. Your boss needs better training. You can't just come out and tell your subordinates that you can see their thing. Unprofessional, harassment even. That's the stupidest nonsense I have ever heard. What the hell are you expected to wear? Parachute pants? Apparently, gotta go full medieval jester up in here. Or go the kilt way. Right, if they can wear skirts, I can too. Email her a quick, "Hi, I just wanted to recap what was said in our previous conversation regarding my dress. You stated, and I quote, that the bulge too big and requested that I buy looser or baggier pants as mine are too tight. Is that correct? I want to be sure we're on the same page here. I'm also requesting a current copy of our dress code to prevent these issues in the future. I enjoy our workplace atmosphere and I want to be sure I'm committed in performing in a way that maintains the standard. Thank you. Watch it disappear." This is what I was thinking too. Get it in writing. If that doesn't make it disappear, then have some fun with it. Seriously though, that sucks. Oh man, I was working in construction and my boss told me I couldn't wear my Carhartt pants. They apparently not only had to be black, but they had to be some stupidly specific brand. But they refused to supply them for me. I got a copy of the dress code, and sure enough, it said bottoms must be this stupid brand. Didn't say pants because they allowed us to wear shorts. Well, I noticed on their website that they also sold kilts. I came to work the following week in a work kilt. It was so comfortable. My boss tried to give me grief for it, but I just referred to the dress code and said it only specified brand, that the color had to be black, and that I had to wear something below the waist, thusly bottoms. He couldn't do anything, and that is how I came to wear work kilts for the next year. And now for the update. I made a post a bit back about an insane demand from my boss. Essentially, she told me that my pants were too revealing and that they showed my bulge when they do not. She then told me that I needed to replace my work pants. To recap what advice I got from my original thread, here it is. Go talk to HR. Never talk to HR. Go talk to a lawyer. Lawyer will waste your time. Your pants are fine. You need new pants. She wants to bang you. She hates you. After dwelling a little bit on my options, I settled for a middle-of-the-road approach. I contacted two well-known lawyers in my area and got a consultation from them about my situation. They both thought that while I was sexually harassed, the case wasn't bulletproof as there was little evidence and no pattern of harm. They then also warned me about going to HR without any evidence, as it can cascade into me losing my job in unexpected ways. Fine, since I needed evidence and a pattern of whatnot, I first wanted to read up on what standards my company has set for managers when it comes to dealing with harassment. I requested from our online learning catalog to take the harassment and tough conversations courses that are normally required only for managers. In the Tough Conversations module, there was a scenario where a male supervisor needed to ask a female employee to correct her work outfit as it did not meet the company's dress code. The module in plain English states that the supervisor is not to intervene and to refer the issue to HR. I assume that the inverse, a female supervisor reprimanding a male's outfit, would follow the same standards. I then sent an email to my boss asking her to follow up on our previous conversation. I wrote, "To boss, I want to clarify some things regarding our previous conversation. Please confirm whether or not my understanding of your statements is correct. My pants violated our dress code by being too tight and revealing my bulge. The issue pertains to all my pants, not a specific subset of my wardrobe. This is a requirement from management and not a request. Please get back to me. Sincerely, OP." It took over a full workday, but the response I got was, "Boss, yes, I did tell you to fix your wardrobe. This is not a request." To boss, if management is demanding that I replace such a large amount of work clothing, it must be done at the expense of the company. Please let me know if this is possible, as we will have to work something else out if it isn't. Sincerely, OP. And her response later was, "This can be done, but I must be with you to supervise your shopping. Check my schedule for my availability." Good lord, suddenly the "she wants to bang you" theories seemed less crazy. I backed up the emails to a personal account and sent everything to HR. Less than 2 hours later, I receive a phone call asking me to come to HR immediately and drop my work unless it was time critical. I complied. I was told that they were taking this matter very seriously and that I should take the rest of the day off. I came back to work today and boss lady is gone. I was told right before lunch that she had been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation and that I shouldn't worry as it's against company policy to engage in any form of professional retaliation. I sit here now like a king on a porcelain throne, telling you about my victory during my post-lunch dump. Bye-bye, boss lady. Supervise your shopping. WTF. I think the company wouldn't have given a damn, but she shot herself on the foot by saying the company could cover your new bulge-less wardrobe. Yeah, which basically means you will try on the new pants, and I will stare at your lower part to make sure I can't see your junk. Oh yeah, bye-bye, lady. Enjoy that dump. Well earned. Thanks, I did. Your email approach was flawless. Got the answers you needed, plus whatever interest she had in you, however weird it was, and ended with the professional and tactful approach from the employer. Done. I was shocked that she replied in the way she did. Seriously. In business and personal emails, I am always cautious about what I write, knowing that things can be taken out of context. And the last thing I want is for my email to be on the LinkedIn, or here, or anywhere for that matter. How could she not think that it would not go sideways? That person is not ready for a management position. I would be surprised if they kept her. User Homogeneous Moss got it dead on. That manager would have to be an even greater level of idiot to put it in writing. Most similar cases we had were basically unsolvable because nothing was in writing. Way to prove your boss was an idiot. Thanks. I was assuming that she wouldn't bite. I guess I gave her too much credit. Hell yeah, dude. I read your original post and assumed there was no way that she'd be stupid enough to confirm any of that in writing. You threaded the needle on this one, my guy. Walk tall with that big old bulge of yours, King. Thanks, I will, King. Next story. The candidate I had to interview for this week was my high school bully. I work for a fairly large company in the tech industry. I've worked there for about 5 years now, and I have a fairly high-up role in management. Over the last few weeks, I got roped into helping build a new team within the company and was assigned to do multiple interviews. This was fairly short notice for me, so my job was only to do the interview and give my impressions of the candidate and the results of the interview. The company is also just back to doing in-person interviews, so the process is even more wonky as of now. When I received the list of candidates for the day, I saw the name of a man we will call Brad. It had been over 15 years since I had last seen him, but I could never forget the face of the man who made my high school years a living hell. Brad was your typical jock. I was an overweight theater kid in AP Math and Science, and you can see where this is going. Those were the worst years of my life, and Brad was one of the contributing causes to that. So, to see him in the candidates here was a shock to me. I didn't believe it at first, but when Brad walked in for the interview, I knew that I was face to face with the man who tormented me in high school. At first, Brad didn't recognize me, but as we sat down, he remembered who I was. He tried to play buddy-buddy with me, pretend we were friends in high school, and I played along. I did the interview, and he did okay. Nothing stand out, but middle of the pack. He made a joke that I would get him the job right. I laughed along and he left. I finalized the interviews yesterday. I wrote Brad a scathing review, downplayed everything good about him, and exaggerated his flaws. Also wrote in that he tried to coerce me into giving him a good review because he was an acquaintance in high school. It's been 15 years since I graduated high school. I am an entirely different person than I was then. But for some reason, I was dragged back to those days, and I don't know how to feel. My school bully saw me at a reunion 20 years later. He came over, we chatted with a group of people, he waited for the right moment, then asked semi-privately for my forgiveness for what he and a couple of others had done. He said he cannot expect me to accept his apology, that he wished he could undo it, but that he really felt sorry for it. I accepted. Felt good. Kids are awful. Some become horrible adults, many don't. Some good kids turn criminals as adults. That's the thing. A lot of these guys just turn out to be regular adults after high school or college. I was like that in high school, I'm ashamed to admit. I wasn't physical, but I would joke kids. At the time I just did it to make myself and others laugh. Horrible thing to do, I know, but that was really all it was, and I didn't think about it past that. I didn't have the perspective that my mere presence could make someone anxious and dread coming to a certain class. So stupid. Now, I would be absolutely embarrassed to run into one of those people I used to joke in public. I'd have to apologize to them. Screw the guy who OP had to interview. A lot of bullies turn out to be regular adults, but most people bullied don't turn out to be. Don't you love it when life comes around full circle? It's an opportunity that the universe gave him to add some balance. You're gonna be a piece of trash. See how that affects your life. Don't beat yourself up or feel bad about this. Had Brad changed, he wouldn't have tried to pretend like you were buddies. He wouldn't have made the nudge about you getting him the job. He would have acknowledged the obvious discomfort, apologized for his past actions, and asked you to consider his application. He did the opposite of that. He is still toxic, and you absolutely did the right thing keeping him out of your work environment. Not only for your own well-being, but for the well-being of your coworkers. Exactly this. People make mistakes. Often we are victims of our own past immaturities. People can undo change. Had he clearly shown honesty, gave a proper apology, and showed that he wished he could have been a better person in high school, I would have thought that OP here was now being the bully. However, he did not. He was probably uncomfortable and awkward and tried to push it all under the rag, even trying to do the completely stupid thing of trying to gain credit just because you knew each other in the past. The complete opposite of a meritocratic system on which interviews of this type are built. OP's actions lead to the correct outcome for this candidate, I believe. But perhaps he didn't have to downplay his good qualities. All he had to do was be honest, not for the candidate's sake, but for OP's conscience in the future. All in all, screw that Brad. OP can learn from this, but the outcome for this candidate is an appropriate one, I believe. Hence no harm really done. Now for the last story. People who mock fat people at gyms are just bullies who want to make themselves feel better about their own sad, pathetic lives. Today I spent an hour consoling a girl in the women's locker room. She's a big girl, but wanted to make changes. She's been going a week, and she told me every day people have smirked, laughed, made rude comments, and just been awful. And yes, I witnessed some of it. People always mock fat people that they don't go to the gym long enough, that they are too lazy. I firmly believe this isn't the main case. It's jerks who make them feel so bad about themselves they stop going. She won't go back now. I tried saying I'd be with her, support her and everything, but she won't go. I'm generally worried about her, but she left before I could get her contact details to check she's okay. Screw those people. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I was once sitting in a coffee shop opposite a women's only gym. A bunch of in-shape women sat down on the table next to me, and I overheard the whole of their conversation, which revolved around all the other women in the gym, either being fat, looking ugly, gross, and how one woman made her almost throw up. It was pretty disturbing how dark they went, commenting on people just trying to better themselves. Humans are miserable as hell. Seems like no matter how beautiful we get, or how much we win in life, we're still mean and miserable creatures. Once I realized this, I started taking the bitterness of others a lot less seriously. Sucks, but what else can you do really? It's really difficult being fat. If you're trying to lose weight, haha, funny fat person on treadmill. If you don't try, wow, look at that slob. It's nasty for sure. They can't win. I'm actually still angry. She was trying so hard. God knows how much this will set her back. There's more of us out there who look at a fat person working out and wish it was us with that drive. When I see an overweight person jogging down the street or at the gym giving it their best, I'm inspired way more than some jacked up juice monkey or some Instagram lame influencer, because I know how hard it can be just to start. I would fist bump or say something encouraging to all of those overweight people if it wasn't so awkward having some random dude yell, "Way to go," out the car window. So when I start feeling insecure about how I look or feel in a gym situation, I try to think about all the silent encouragement I'm getting, and I don't even know it. Update: I've contacted the gym about the incident, and they are looking into it. I actually saw the girl again while shopping and we went for a coffee. We had a good heartfelt discussion, and she's agreed to come back to the gym with me, which is great for both of us. It'll push me to not be lazy too. And after, we will go for a coffee and chat. It's nice I've made a friend and she's feeling better.